Welcome to the last night of our Innate Life Reclamation online 10-day seminar. I hope you have gotten a lot out of these conversations. I know I have. I've enjoyed recording them. And so for this last night that we're together or day that we're together, depending on when you listen to this, I just wanted to do a little roundup of some of the thoughts that were shared and what they mean to me, as well as kind of put the bow on some conversations around innate and implementing some of these ideas. So, if I just kind of do a recap of the conversations and some of the silver lining threads that came through, I just want to be transparent that at the time of this recording, I just had a very interesting weekend in my life, definitely feeling squeezed. My mom has been in hospice for some time and has really been suffering. And it's been a long, drawn out process. So by no means is this new, but we're kind of entering into that twilight experience of it where she's kind of in between worlds. And so going up to visit her, as well as I had a child at home that was having some bowel and gastro issues and just not feeling well for the past week, not sleeping well, throwing up, etc. I really felt squeezed. You're in this weird time where sometimes it's like, okay, what, I give up, and what I draw upon is that when we hear from others' experiences, when they've been squeezed and how they applied some of these concepts that really are not, when we're talking about innate lifestyle, yes, we can talk about some of the physical things like what you're eating and how you take care of your body, but a lot of it is more this spiritual and mental emotional application too, and how that influences the body. And so I think about these conversations, and especially, and it's all divine timing that I got to hear and record these before I stepped into this week. So, Leslie's conversation about breaking generational patterns, I think that so many of us recognize some of the things that we don't want to pass along, maybe some of the things we do want to pass along, but also things that can be changed. And so nudging us in the direction of looking at epigenetic through Bruce Lipton's work, and just recognizing patterns can be changed and small shifts make big differences. And just also the self-forgiveness, family forgiveness, and just moving your life in the direction you want it to go for you. That is a beautiful conversation. Dr. Jen and her conversation through the crazy story of her twins and their birth, as well as the intense chaos post-birth of her third child with her husband's stroke, and being intentional and mindful to place your energy and your words and your prayers in the direction of what you want, and speaking life over the situation. And, we're all going to be squeezed. What do they say? It's not if certain things happen in your life, it's when, right? And so we all go through this kind of cyclical or seasonal of it's life is blooming, as then maybe there's an autumn season and a winter season, and then it's blooming in summer again. And so to remember being intentional and speaking what you want into your life, even if you're in a season that feels like winter. Dr. Crystal and her just tenacity for going after the things in life that just because someone maybe told you no doesn't mean you have to take that as the final say. I think it's so true, especially if you've had any amount of success at something, you realize what it took to accomplish that. And then if you can apply that to many things, we are all probably playing smaller than we need to be. And, I think there's a Marianne Williamson quote that talks about what we're most afraid of is actually how powerful we all are. It's not our darkness that scares us. It's our light, and stepping out into the light and being fully seen. And so Crystal and all the things that she goes and gets done because she can is really inspiring, especially because it's not like she was dealt perfect cards to have those things played out. And I love to just hear that and know that it's okay to just go for it, no matter what else the backstory is. Dr. Danny, I think, especially for the parents listening, shared some great thoughts, because I know so many times we want to do things for our loved ones. And especially if our kids are struggling or whatnot, we want to just make it all go away. And so his conversation around being, an adolescent who was really struggling with his health and was a sick kid, and then what his perspective was as he was starting to heal, especially at such a young age, and how he knew it was his responsibility. It just, again, reminds us our kids are not ours to grow up necessarily. Like, they've chose us, they've been birthed into probably teach us more things than we teach them. And to remember that they have their own free will and their own path, I think is an important conversation. And to, by showcasing what you would like them to witness in their life, again, going back to Leslie's conversation of nature versus nurture, I mean, that's powerfully how we influence them in the right direction. Dr. Carr Sterner, and just her insights on her transition from mainstream medicine into what she knows now, that cell to self and self-love and self-recognition in her own healing journey, and her transparency about, some of what is problematic in our healthcare system today, I think is very eye-opening as we see what else is happening in the world. So yeah, like lots to take in as we start to move into recognizing we are our own best doctors, our intuition, our inner knowing. We need to seek out healthcare providers who can help us connect some of those dots, especially if we open the door to them for help. But we're really ultimately the one who heals us. Our innate is on the job. So just like a cut heals, innate is that inner knowing, that inner inborn wisdom, two cells that create this baby in you that doesn't happen without something so much bigger than just the physical body. And since death is so imminent in my experience witnessing my mom right now, it's also fascinating how just like birth can be such an array of ways that a soul comes in, so can death, and to me that exemplifies innate, as well as the fact that we have an innate portion of us that I think of many times, if we're following that, life flows a bit more in line with what our soul maybe is hoping for us or leading us towards. But we have free will choice as well. And that can be a rough road. And so, when I think about innate wisdom, again, kind of taking it in that full breadth, I think about it not only in my cells, like that I can trust that my body is continually doing all the things it can to have me be as vital and express as much life as possible. In chiropractic, we talk about subluxation as like when, we're adjusting the spine and there is an area that needs an adjustment. Like, what is that about? Why is there areas of us that have moved out of place? Or subluxation, if you break the word down, means less light. Why are there darkened portions of us? And what's interesting about that word is it really, to me, is just stored potential, like an area where maybe in the stress of it all, whatever happened, the body or your system could not adapt in that moment. So it freezes it. And so if we can open ourselves back up, not only through chiropractic care, but choosing differently, that potential can move through us. And so to me, that's what innate healing is opening up that stored potential. So when I think about that innate wisdom, I want to work with it not only in the choices I make for my physical body, but also recognizing it in my mental, emotional patterns and shifting those, because that's directly related to my physical body as well. Sometimes I like to geek out thinking about the interrelatedness of so many things in the world. And to me, that exemplifies this, like, innate is the portion of the whole that's within us. and it's always on the job. And so a story I'll quick share with you that I think is just really beautiful is to think about, most of us have had a childhood pet or a pet right now, and to think about what they brought into our life. And, you know, for example, I just put a cat to sleep earlier this year. She was my ride or die cat for like 13 years. And the funny story is how I got her is that my mom actually, my dad had gotten me another kitten, and the kitten was at my parents' house for a couple extra days, and my mom fell in love with this cat. So she's like, sorry, I'm going to take this cat. You can't give her to Lona, because I was away at college. And so my dad went and found this other cat, this other kitten. So I ended up getting this kitten that's black and white striped, and I called her Miga. And my mom kept the original kitten that she called Muffin, that was white with a black spot. Anyways, the reason why I share this story is because I felt like my cat Miga was my doula into motherhood. So I had 2 home births. She was always around. She was so good with the kids. And on my 1.5-year-old Max, when he was born at home, she literally sat like right here on the edge of the bed, watching the entire birth. It was like she was just like holding space for me to do this thing. I don't even think Kyle was in the room like 1/100th of what this cat just sat there. And I remember just thinking, that's so odd how she's looking at me. But she was like my cat, like, oh, loved her. And she would sleep under the covers with me some of the time. Now, once I had babies, that didn't happen as much. Anyways, my mom's cat has been in the nursing home with her for this past like 5 months or so. And my dad and I both remarked this last couple of days that it looks like Muffin is passing as well. And it's almost like so beautifully orchestrated, again, by this like innate and universal intelligence that's in everything. It's like she was my mom's cat. I think she was there to help my mom, you know, and she really did it up until the last moments. And so I would be willing to bet that when my mom passes, so does this cat. So it's just like, that's so beautiful to me. So moving on, Dr. Amanda, she talked about sharing her truth and sitting in it and knowing that there's a duplicitous way to still be who you are and be authentic about it and have a voice, which we all need, especially in these times. And nurse practitioner Callie Cook, and sharing about self-love and her steps into kind of finding this deeper mind, body, spirit connection and self-love. Who doesn't need to treat themselves even better than they've felt like they were on a self-love journey, and we need to keep going. Dr. Pete, I love his heart for chiropractic. He just, I think, does a beautiful job of underlining the importance of that type of care. And then, of course, one of my best friends, Lisa Thielen, talking to us about energy. So I hope you found all of those so valuable. I wanted to leave you with a couple quick questions to wrap up your week. I was reading I believe it was a book from Brendan Bouchard, and one of the questions in it that I really loved is that, what does my future self know that I need to change? So to wrap this whole 10 days up, I'd like to say, what is your future self, or what does your innate knowing know that for your next revolution of self-love, your journey, it's time to shed something, do something, let go of something, forgive something? What is that thing? And write it down, make it so. Thank you for spending the time with us. We'll have more stuff coming out. I know we'll have another one of these later in the year. We'll probably have a little post reclamation, just letting us know, which speakers you resonated the most with. And you can always reach out to any of us. So thanks, guys.